In Brown, the Supreme Court struck down the separate but equal doctrine, affirming the value of integration. But a Supreme Court opinion can't fully make equal opportunity a reality on the ground, in schools, in classrooms, or in our hearts and minds. So Brown is not just part of our history, it is a part of our future. 60 years after Brown, education remains an urgent civil rights issue for 4 reasons. First, while Brown struck down de jure segregation as unconstitutional, de facto school segregation has actually worsened in many respects over the past 2 decades. Since 1991, all regions of the nation have experienced an increase in the percentage of black students who attend highly segregated schools, where 90% or more of students are students of color. Here in the South, more than 1/3 of black students attend such racially isolated schools. In the Northeast, it's actually more than half, more than 50%. And as you know from your own reporting, educational opportunity and diversity can vary widely among urban and suburban districts within a very short drive of each other. In New York City, even a few blocks can make a huge difference, as State Commissioner John King recently pointed out. John called the achievement gaps between affluent and poor students a disgrace, and I absolutely agree. That disgrace is painfully at odds with the American promise that if you study hard and you work hard, you should have an equal opportunity to get a quality education, no matter your zip code or your skin color. Second, education remains a civil rights issue because the Brown ruling sparked a sweeping expansion of the entire concept of educational opportunity. Brown helped propel the passage of IDEA. It helped to drive the adoption of Title IX. It helped to lead to the creation of Title I and Pell Grants. This sweeping expansion of equal educational opportunity to protect disadvantaged students, girls and women, students with disabilities, LGBT students, and English language learners means that education remains an urgent civil rights issue in ways that would have been unimaginable 60 years ago. To take just one example, when Brown was handed down, in fact, as late as the 1970s, millions of children with disabilities were routinely denied access to the general classroom. Thankfully, that reality has fundamentally changed. Today, we also have a much more sophisticated understanding that ensuring equal opportunity means more than just striking down Jim Crow laws. That's a third reason why education remains the civil rights issue of our generation. Today, we worry about both achievement gaps and opportunity gaps. Because we haven't provided access to high-quality early learning to all families, millions of children enter kindergarten already behind their peers at the starting line of school. That is profoundly unfair, and it's educationally unsound. We don't do a great job of playing catch-up after that. And that's why President Obama's groundbreaking Preschool for All plan is not just an early learning proposal, it's a critical civil rights initiative. And when children aren't getting the full benefit of educational technology because of their income or zip code, it's an injustice. And that's why President Obama's Connect Ed initiative to expand high-speed internet access to 99% of American students is also an equal opportunity initiative. When students of color and students with disabilities are disproportionately suspended or expelled, and when that disciplinary action stems from discriminatory practices or policies, it's a civil rights violation. We've known about this inequity for years, but not until March, when we released the civil rights data collection, did we find out that black preschool students, essentially 3- and 4-year-olds, are also much more likely than white children to be suspended. To learn that the school-to-prison pipeline started with our youngest students stunned and frankly horrified me. Our expectations of what constitutes a world-class education have risen dramatically since Brown. When I was growing up on the south side of Chicago, you actually could drop out of high school and still land a job in the steel mills or the stockyards or in a factory. That's no longer the case. Now you need a post-secondary education, some credential, some degree to have a chance of succeeding. And that's why in a knowledge-based, globally competitive economy, access to STEM courses and AP classes is also a civil rights issue. The CRDC results show that black and Hispanic students account for close to 40% of high school students, but constitute just a quarter of students taking AP classes and exams and only 20% of enrollment in calculus classes. A new analysis that we have run on student access to advanced STEM and AP classes shows that American Indian and Native Alaskan students are much less likely than students of other ethnic groups to attend high schools that even offer AP classes, calculus, or physics. And just 68% of black students, about 2/3, attend a high school that actually offers calculus. By comparison, 81% of white high school students have that option of taking calculus, and 87% of Asian American students have that option. The bottom line is that students of color, students with disabilities, and English language learners don't get the same opportunity as their white and Asian American peers to take the math and science courses that figure so importantly in preparing for both college and careers. This dumbing down of expectations is devastating to young people, their families, their communities, and ultimately to our nation as a whole. We can't continue to relegate talent and potential to the sidelines. The CRDC survey is an incredibly rich resource, a survey of every single public school in the U.S. And I encourage all of you to dig into it, and to dig into it aggressively, and to report local stories on educational equity or lack thereof. The urgent need to close opportunity gaps is why the President's $300 million Race to the Top opportunity proposal is so essential. It would provide money to states and districts to use data to identify and to correct these disparities. It would drive resources, such as more AP classes or behavioral supports that improve school climate, to the schools, teachers, and students that need them the most. Education is very much the leading civil rights issue of our generation. School resegregation, the expanded reach of laws regulating equal opportunity, the elevated importance of education and opportunity gaps, and the continued persistence of discrimination all combine to make closing opportunity gaps an absolutely educational, economic, and moral imperative. Unfortunately, in 2014, we don't treat inequality and inequity in schools with the urgency and seriousness of purpose that it deserves. Too many Americans today have become complacent about our educational performance, and it wasn't always that way. Regrettably, education is often a second or even a third-tier issue in most local and state and national elections. As you guys watched, it rarely came up in presidential debates. And my guess is that some reporters in this room share my concern that education isn't treated with more seriousness at the local and state and national levels.